Hi, I thought I would tape a lesson about segment partitioning. We started off learning about directed line segments, and we started learning about the component. So basically what the component is, is actually the movement of from point A to point B. So here is my formula for the component. So x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1, excuse me. So to find the component, I have to identify which point is x1, y1, and which point is x2, y2. And in the case of how it's written, the first one is also always x1, y1, and the second one is always x2, y2. Because what this means is the movement from P to Q. So by using the component, it tells me that I am moving to the right 4, because it would be 9 minus 5, and I'm moving up 2, because it's 6 minus 4. So my component would be 4, 2 here. And then in this situation, I like the fact that they did the same coordinates, because now I'm moving from Q to P. And in the x direction, I end up moving negative 4 here, because it's going to be 5 minus 9, which is negative 4. And in the y direction, I end up moving 4 minus 6 would be negative 2. So to go from Q to P, I have to go left 4, down 2. So then we continued on, and I'm going to do one of these down here at the bottom, and you were just finding the components. So the components are x2 minus x1, and y2 minus y1, and we talked about that being a lot like translations. I'm going to choose BC, and the reason I'm going to choose BC is because B actually does not have, it has variables as its coordinates. It has x, y. So when I'm doing this, I just plug in the variable for x1 and y1. Because I'm going BC, so this would be x1, y1, and C is going to be x2, y2. So I take negative 6 minus x, and then negative 2 minus y. So that would be my component for BC. Moving on forward, we talked about number lines and how we actually wrote a ratio as a fraction. So it had us plot A at 0, B at 8, and then a point T at 3, and it asked what the distance from A to T was, and it's 3, and the distance from T to B is 5. And so the ratio is actually of AT to TB is 3 to 5. But if I'm talking about what fraction AT is of the whole AB, it's actually 3/8. So it ends up being where we use the denominator, or the length of AT, and then to find AB, I would add the length of AT plus the length of TB. So that would give us 3/8. So then it talked about creating a formula of turning a ratio into a fraction, and so that would be 3 over 5 plus 3, so that's going to be 3/8. 1 over 1 plus 3, so that's 1/4. 6 over 6 plus 2, so that's 6/8, which simplifies to 3/4. 1 over 1 plus 7 is 1/8. And then A over A plus B would be the formula. So that kind of gives us an idea of where we're going. When we're turning a ratio, so this will be our formula for turning a ratio into a fraction. And let's put ratio AB. So turning the ratio AB into a fraction, I take A, and then in the denominator I have A plus B, a whole. So then we talked about how we divide and we multiply. So I'm going to skip on to the actual formula. So in this case, I have, I'm trying to find one that I didn't write on already, and I am struggling finding that. So we'll just cover the answers. So we'll do example 2 from the second page on this information, and we are going to use this formula. This is the formula that we talked about in class, and we're going to kind of identify the components of the formula. So it says, find the coordinate t that divides AB into a ratio of 3 to 1. So here we're a ratio. So to find the fraction, I have to have a over a plus b. Because I always think in terms of fractions for some reason instead of ratios. So 3/4. And we know that point A is at -1, -6. Okay, that's A. And then B is at -5, +2. So B is
Walker,
here.
please report to Ms. Miles' room
Right here,
in 1315. Miles Walker to Ms. Miles' room.
So I want to find basically the distance going from A to B that is 3/4 of the way from A to B. So I have this formula, and we have A is going to, because it's written first, because I'm going from A to B, A is going to be x1, y1, and B is going to be x2, y2. So then I have my information that I need to plug in the formula. So I'm looking for a coordinate xy, and I'm going to plug in x1 means my starting point. -1 is where I start with my x's. Plus, and this is my ratio, but I already did a over a plus b, and that's 3/4. And then this part right here, x2 minus x1, is my component. So x2 -5 minus x1, which is -1. So when I simplify it and put it into the calculator, my answer is going to be my x value of my of coordinate t. And then b, or for my y, I do where I start with my y, so that's -6 plus, again, my fraction is 3/4 of the distance, and then I have 2 minus -6. And so to simplify, I have -1 plus, and that's going to be -4, so that's going to be -12 over 4, and then it's going to be -6 plus, that's going to be 8, so it's going to be 24 over 4. Is that right? 8 times 3 is, yep. Okay. So then I have -1 plus -3, and I have -6 plus 6. So it's going to be 0, -4. And if you plot it, it definitely makes sense that that would be point T, 3/4 of the way from A to B. And then we had some homework, so I'm going to pick one maybe that I did not have an answer for to do. Just some examples for you. So I'm going to pick the ones that we didn't go over in class. So I'm going to pick 14. And number 14 says, find the coordinate t that is 5/6, so my fraction is 5/6 of the distance from A, which is my x1, y1, to B, which is my x2, y2. So moving on along, I have my formula, xy, my point xy, that's 5/6 from A to B. It's going to be x1 plus my fraction, which is 5/6 in this case, and it's x2 minus x1. And this is just my fraction, A over A plus B, or just my fraction. I don't have it in ratio form. And then I have 2 plus 5/6, and then it'll be y2 minus y1. And so then I just start plugging in my points. -7 plus 5/6, and then x2 is -1 minus -7, and then 2 plus 5/6, and then y2 is -4 minus 2. And so this is going to end up being +6. So -7 plus 30 over 6, because 6 times 5 is 30. And then 2 plus -30 over 6. And then -7 plus 5 is -2. And then 2 plus -5 is -3. So that is my answer there. And then we can, you can check some more of the problems. I'm going to put an answer key of this particular packet that we did, or these particular worksheets. The answer key will also be posted in eClass under the content section. So hopefully that will help you with segment partitioning.